Well, my vision for Pakistan at 2047 is that Pakistan should be in the top 10 economies of the world. And this is what we set out in Vision 2025 document, that by 2025 we will be in the top 25 economies, and then we will go till 2047 in two phases. The first is 2035, in which we will develop regional leadership, and then by 2047 we should be a global player. Pakistan is quite capable of achieving this goal because we have a very talented nation. Our intelligence, our hard work, no one can match. And then Pakistan has been bestowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with great endowments, with great resources. We have land, we have water, we have four seasons, we have a coastline, we have minerals, we have very industrious people. So there is no way, we are not by any stretch of imagination an underdeveloped country. We are only an undermanaged country. I think Pakistan, if we look at our past 75 years journey, to me there are two reasons for our failure not to achieve our potential. One, lack of political stability. Second, which is related to it, lack of continuity in policies. Policy reversals, policies inconsistencies, and political shocks have not allowed us to get dividends from the policies that we developed. We were never poor at developing good policies. We always developed good policies, but we could not implement them, and mainly because of the political instability and the policy reversals as a result of this instability. I mean, you see, that is also human development could not take place in this country because for 35 years we were under martial law. And martial law governments always focused on security dimension of the state. There was lack of continuity in democratic processes. And if you look at the democratic governments, each democratic government has made extra effort to invest in education, in health and human development, because these governments are answerable to their constituents. But when you have unelected governments, they are not answerable to people. So they invest state resources in either security or other non-people expenditure for which they are not accountable. CPAC was a great opportunity for Pakistan, and it came after many years. In our history, we dropped two catches. The first catch of development we dropped in 60s when Pakistan was considered to be a very promising country. Many economists were calling us the next Japan in Asia. But in 1965, when we fought with India, that development journey was derailed. Then second takeoff for Pakistan was in 1991, when first Nawaz Sharif government introduced major policy reforms in economic sector, policy of deregulation, policy of liberalization, policy of privatization, promoting private sector as instrument of growth. That brought in a lot of investment from private sector. Pakistan's growth immediately picked up. And that was the time when India was copying our reforms. But unfortunately, again, we went into a cycle of political instability throughout 90s. No government was allowed to complete its tenure. And India borrowed those reforms and introduced them in India and continued those reforms with stability. As a result, by 2000, India overtook Pakistan. So I think that was the second failure. The third opportunity came to us in 2013 when we visited China after Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif took oath of office. And Chinese leadership offered us CPAC, and we signed an MOU. And under CPAC, China promised to invest $46 billion in Pakistan at a time when no one was willing to invest even a single dollar in Pakistan due to the security, climate and political risk at that time. But China changed that profile for Pakistan when President Xi visited us in 2014. He signed those MOUs, and all of a sudden, entire world started to look at Pakistan with a different lens. They started to see Pakistan as an investment destination. And then within 3 to 4 years, we were able to materialize about $29 billion worth of investment. That helped us overcome energy shortage, that helped us build modern infrastructure. We were able to construct 2,000 kilometers of motorways. Today, Pakistan is at the almost brink of a connectivity revolution. Then we installed 11,000 megawatts power projects in Pakistan to meet energy deficiency. The next phase of CPAC was the most exciting phase and the most promising phase, and that was industrial cooperation. We were supposed to complete 9 economic zones by 2020. And in 2017-18, we were hopeful that we will attract about $30 to $40 billion worth of Chinese investment in these special economic zones. Because, 80 million jobs are today being relocated from China to developing countries where the cost of production is low.
Yeah.
It is going to Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, all sorts of countries. So Pakistan, with the connectivity link, was very attractive destination for this investment. But unfortunately, from 2018 till 2020, no work was done. As a result, not a single special economic zone was ready for this investment, and we lost that opportunity. But now again, we are working hard to complete these special economic zones. We are trying to restore confidence of the Chinese businessmen and companies to come and invest in Pakistan. Pakistan is a very attractive destination for any investor. We are the 6th most populous country. We have 60 to 80 million population of middle class. We are very strategically located. We have a very modern infrastructure in terms of financial services, banking, technology, a very educated workforce as well, very skilled human resource as well. So Pakistan, by all means, is very attractive for any global player. But the catch is we have to promote ourselves as an enabling environment. Now, what does enabling environment mean? That you must have business-friendly policies, but you must also sell your stability and security to the investors. If investor does not see stability in any country, no matter how good their policies are, they will not be attracted there. So again, I would come back, as a nation, we have to learn that this is an age of economic competition. We have to compete with other countries to be a more attractive destination. And if we want to be a better destination, we need stability in this country. We need security for the investors. We need continuity of policies. And we need a strong legal system which can give confidence to the foreign investor that their investments will be protected in this country. So this is how other countries have attracted investments. Now Vietnam, which is half of our population, has a population of about 100 million, gets FDI of 28 to 30 billion dollars annually. And we, a country of 220 million, hardly get $1.5 billion FDI. What a shame. What is the difference? The only difference is stability and continuity of policies. And if we are going to play T10 or T20 cricket for our development, we will never achieve our goals. Development is a test match format of cricket. You have to be consistent. If you want to score a century in a test match, you have to really craft your century. But if you want to score a century in a T20, you take chances.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are lucky, sometimes you are not lucky. PIDE is a very important institution, not just for our ministry, but for the entire government. PIDE is supposed to be think tank, economic think tank for the government. And as you know that we have great shortage of resources. And when you don't have resources, your policies have to be evidence-based. They have to be based on data so that you are accurate, so that you can have most efficient utilization of your resources. So I think that way PIDE has a role to carry out research, to see whether our development is based on scientific, empirical evidence, whether our resources are going where they can be optimized, what is the impact of different policies, which will give policy makers more wisdom to make better policies for future. So that way, PIDE has a role to do applied research and development sector and be a guide or a think tank for the whole of government, and particularly Ministry of Planning and Development that has the mandate to chart out economic strategy for the country. You see, first of all, if the calamity has a scale of very big proportion, or is at a scale that is beyond the capacity of the administrative structure, that calamity does have a cost. It does bring hardship to the people. Now, what we are facing right now is a climate disaster and human tragedy. We have not seen this level of rainfall in these areas, particularly Sindh and Balochistan, which traditionally or historically were always receiving low or very moderate rainfall, have received 500% more rainfall than the average of last 30 years. So as a result, their infrastructure, their lifestyle, their homes were not ready to meet such heavy rainfall. So there is very large scale destruction, displacement, human misery that we are seeing, and we are trying to reach out, use all the federal government resources to support the provincial governments who are on ground. But still, I think our resources cannot match the kind of damage that has happened. This is due to the climate change, global warming. And the irony is that Pakistan only contributes less than 1% to the global warming, but we are the 7th most vulnerable country due to climate change or on climate change vulnerability. And therefore, international community has a role. The developed world has a role. Today, we are paying the price of irresponsible development by the developed world. All the luxuries they are today enjoying come at the cost of our poor people today who are out of homes due to these rains. So therefore, international community has a responsibility to come out and partner with us in rebuilding the livelihoods of these people, rebuilding their houses, rebuilding the infrastructure that has been lost. But our government is determined that whatever is possible within our own limits, we are now diverting funds even from the development budgets to the rehabilitation of these people, because human suffering takes precedence over all development. Again, I would say that there are certain gaps in our administrative structures, but if you see in 2005, if you see in 2010, our administrative structures, our bureaucrats, our government departments, they all stood up to the occasion. And everyone worked very hard day and night to overcome the challenge of that calamity. And still we get reports that all our government functionaries are out in the field. They are working and trying their best. But as I said, the scale of catastrophe, the scale of destruction is so large that it is beyond the administrative reach of our structures. So there will be some complaints, but ultimately we will reach out to every community, we will reach out to everyone, and we are very committed that we will help them in rebuilding their houses. There is a silver lining in this destruction, that those houses which were mud houses, they can be now rebuilt with new technologies. They can be built with more durable structures. So there is this opportunity that we can really create or construct a new face for Pakistan in this misery. So I hope that we succeed in our vision to create a new life for these people who have paid a very heavy toll for this calamity. My message for the youth of Pakistan is that they are our future, and they have to be very positive, and they must not let their difference of opinion turn into hate, because prejudice is the biggest enemy of mankind. When you have hate and prejudice, your rationality is gone. We must learn to accept that we don't have to be same in order to be equal. We can be equal Pakistanis by having different opinions. We can be equal Pakistanis by having different faiths. So when we try to find sameness in order to qualify others to be equal, then we go into hate, and hate destroys societies.